Hey there, welcome to CNT Collectibles. I am C. Hope you're doing well. And this week, I want to talk a little baseball and talk specifically about Eloy Jimenez. I had another player in mind, Mr. Kyle Tucker for the Houston Astros. But when looking at Eloy, I think this is a little bit more interesting. Kyle is having an off season. There's a few reasons for that, but Eloy is he's playing really, really well. I'm not sure people have really noticed that, so I just want to discuss him a little bit. So the title, Eloy's Back You Buying, is has a couple of meanings. Of course, there's the card market. Are you buying his cards? Whatever. We'll look at the charts at the end of the video and do a little fundamentals first. But mostly, are you just buying that he's a really, really good player? And I want to make the case that he's looking like he was the first couple of years. Now, the big problem, as we know, is he just hasn't been on the field as much as you'd like for a young player to really ramp that up. But it doesn't mean that there's not anything to do with his cards, or especially if you're a fan. This is fun stuff, fun times for Eloy. So this was a 60 future value prospect coming up with a lot of raw and game power, but he could hit as well. And so his first couple of years in the league, this was a guy that was profiling, could he hit 40 home runs while batting about 280? And so he was looking like that, but then you had your shortened 2020, and then you had some injuries, and so that's been following him around. Now, these are not nagging injuries. These are more of he doesn't know how to play outfield type injuries, and so hopefully we can keep him away from just breaking down overall. But the pedigree is certainly there, and so let's watch what's happening to him since coming back in July. Though again, the last couple of seasons, when he's on, he's kind of the 270, 280 hitter. A little bit above that in a shortened 2020 season, though technically he did what he could. He played the full year, so there was only 60 games. He played 55 of them. He matched that number in 2021 with an injury, and then this year again he had he's suffering from more injury in spring training just after coming back. So just snake bit, and longer term it may be a little too late for him to catch up on that longer term relevant path, but he could sure have some fun years, that's for darn sure. Strikes out about 25% of the time, walks in the single digits. Again, pretty solid power here. He can probably hit 30 plus without much problem. 121 weighted runs created, and so it looks like overall he's getting back to where he was those first couple of years when people were very, very excited about him. He's a positive offensive player, in his defense questionable at best here. So, but if we look at what he's doing here, this is since July, early part of July when he came back for the season. So 89 plate appearances, so small sample size, but he is hitting over 300 with a good power output. 200 isolated power, not elite or anything like that, but 146 weighted runs created. That is elite. So he's been an elite level bat since coming back in July. So let's see if he can keep it going here. Now, got a lot of chicken scratch on here, just to these are my notes. I gotta keep things moving here. I could ramble all day. There I go again. Let me get back to the notes here. So if you look at his exit velocity for the year, this is right around his highest ever in 2020 when he had a pretty nice season overall. He's matching that maximum exit velocity right around there, so he's not tailing off in the power department. Launch angle, he doesn't put a lot of balls into the air, but he does hit them squarely. He does have a very nice barrel percentage. He's sitting at the highest rate of his career. And his hard hit rate is right around the highest of his career as well. So when he does barrel up a ball, it goes a long ways. Okay, that average again, kind of hanging out in the 280s, 290s. So this is you think about where a 280 and a 40 home run guy would sit. I mean, you're looking at top 10 outfielder type stuff. He does have that kind of potential. Some of the challenges that he's going to have is because he has that low launch angle. He puts a lot of balls on the ground. About half of what he hits is a ground ball. Has some nice line drives, but the fly ball percentage is decent. We'd like to see that, right in that range. We'd like to see the line drive rate creep up a bit more. Some more liners than ground balls. That's going to hold back the average because he doesn't have a ton of speed, even though he's elite in the power department. The infield fly ball percentage is not popping a whole bunch of balls up in the air, so it is kind of what he is until he can start switching ground balls for some more line drives. That is going to suppress kind of his overall production. Home run to fly ball rate, not stretched at all. And pulling the ball, he splits pretty evenly between center and pulling the ball, and he can go opposite field a bit, which does help the average a bit in that overall hitting profile. Hard hit rate, again, the highest of his career. So he's staying in the ball, no problems there, but a lot of pull, a lot of center field, and so we'd like to see him put a little more lift under the ball consistently. Battery profile, this is what keeps him from being elite, okay? You know, elite is 40 home runs, and are you hitting 310, 320, something like that? It's like, no, I'm not seeing that right now. He is what he is. Chases a lot of balls outside the zone, and so this is where that 27% strikeout rate comes into play. So if he can ever figure out how to lay off some of those balls outside the zone and get that strikeout rate sub 20%, then we are talking, you know, big time. But for now, he could have monster stretches, and you know, if you're looking to play short-term card flips or something like that, that's where it could go. Longer term, again, this is an issue here. There are very few people that can get away with that kind of that kind of plate presence and be successful over the long term. Now, what's in the zone? He swings at a good amount of the balls, and he makes a good amount of contact with those balls. So again, he's got some chasing in his profile overall here. And you can see that how the pitchers are throwing him. They're not afraid to throw him low and away or just completely outside the zone for the most part. So doesn't see a lot of balls in his sweet spot where he would pull or hit up the middle. So pitchers are nibbling a bit. You know, they're still throwing him strikes because there's some swing and miss to his game here. But you do see a high percentage of balls just you know, probably coming in off of some sort of a breaking ball just outside of the zone because he's chasing it. So that's going to be his bugaboo. That's what's going to prevent him from being consistently excellent, great, whatever for a long period of time. Is what it is. I mean, still a terrific talent who's playing extremely well since July, and people haven't. I'm not sure people are really noticing that. So they've been burned a lot. You know, the injury history over the past couple of years, he just might be out of sight, out of mind. No question about it. So, but his last 50 plate appearances, last 100 plate appearances, and his past 250 plate appearances, you see it starting to tick up that xWOBA, weighted on base average. Okay. Past 100 and the past 50, really doing well here. You can see there's a lot of pull to his power here. He can go opposite field, but not nearly as much as he will pull. And there's just not a lot of data for him this year because of the limited plate appearances here. That maximum exit velocity, 91st percentile, not a lot of sprint speed. So again, it is what it is. That's why he's, you know, if you're hitting the ball on the ground, you want a much higher sprint speed. So again, that's going to hold him back just a bit overall here. Hall of Fame path. He came up early and started producing just enough. Maybe he could have tracked with the last few years. He just hasn't put up a whole lot here. So he had that initial season he had a couple half-war seasons, and then he had a decent, you know, what was it, a 3-win season or something like that. And then he's starting to get a feel for it again, but maybe it's too late for him to really to catch up. I mean, he's going to have to start putting up. This is a kind of a generic Hall of Fame track. You know, if you can get up to 60 or 70, he'd really have to start ramping it up over the next few years. And I think he can actually, you know, start tracking this base. But because he got that late start, I mean, basically all he would do is track, and you know, you have to play until his 40s to really you know, catch up and make up some ground here. So there's a significant spread here. So again, I don't think you want to be holding a lot of his high-end cards when he retires. You know, the prices could significantly drop. After that, he'll lose his longer-term relevance. But I think in the interim, there is perhaps a play there. And so let's look at a few of the charts. His Topps Chrome base and a PSA 10. You're talking about a $15 card right now, okay? You know, you have some upside to $20, but I believe it breaks this at some point, especially if he has a strong finish to the season. Get into next year, speculation starts again, and if he's healthy, then that could be enough to get players on board. So there's worse things you can do with $15. That's for darn sure. So people might be looking for some of the higher end cards. Well, we can look at that as well. So this is the Refractor, which is sitting in an interesting level of support around $30. I don't think the risk reward matters a whole lot at $30. You're kind of managing your risk by not spending a whole lot in the first place here. So again, if there's upside to, you call it that $70 area at some point here, and you know, that's a double. You could see that $15 card in that base get up to $30 without much trouble. So you know, the potential is there, I think, for Eloy because he is playing actually pretty well. So we'll see what happens with the cards, but these are some lower risk options. Again, I don't think you'll have people running into the higher end options right now. Are they going to put a ton of money into someone with so many questions? So the lower end market is probably the play here. So Topps Chrome Rookie Autograph Refractor numbered out at $4.99. You can get these raw for $60 or $70. The PSA 10 is going to be about $160, which has been about as solid a price as you've had in a while here. But even that might be a little much for people to spend their money on at this point here. How many buyers you're going to get in at that higher end? I mean, he'd have to have a couple seasons probably, or an MVP type season to really get people on board with him right now. And I'm not sure we see that right away. So again, this is something that right now, play for the end of the season, maybe over the off season. You're going to have to hold it for a little while to really get people back on board. But those lower risk options might be a little bit more palatable. And if we look at his Bowman Chrome draft, these prices will usually stay relatively suppressed because there's no autograph version of this card here. So even if you're looking at the refractors, things of that nature, those Bowman first are going to be pretty cheap entertainment. And that's about over the last, well, that's 30 days. I guess I should have stretched it out to 365. I usually do. I'm getting used to market movers a little bit here. They had a nice sale over the National, the 50% off, and then they brought in that $9 a month option. So pretty cheap entertainment. So I'll work on getting better with this one, a little bit more consistent. But again, that's a pretty low price card, but there are no autographs, so I don't know how much demand there is going to be for that particular card. So for Eloy overall, I think the high end might be a bit of a tough sell to get people back in and spending that kind of money on it, but the low end looks really, really interesting. And and again, he's a terrific player when he's healthy. That's been the biggest question mark. So if he can finish strong here and go through spring training healthy, this could be a bit of a longer term play that could work out for people. So that's what I got for Eloy. We'll get to Kyle Tucker one of these days. I want to cover him as well. There's a few things that I see that are kind of interesting, but I thought this was at least a decent player to talk about at the time. So that's what I got for you. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.